Yo, what is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown Your Questions, episode 474. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez, Carlos Romero,
Yo, yo, yo.
Richard Bailey Jr.,
What's up, everybody?
and Brian Manjoma.
What up? What up?
All right, people, we're back with another one. No Chris action. And we don't know what's going on with Brett. So who knows, man? We'll see. A Syrian Air Force. It's been a while, man. How you been? He goes, hey, everyone. Long time no see. Yeah,
What up?
Welcome back to the fold, sir.
How you been, man?
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Barry Burton's in the house, and I'm pretty sure other people will show up. Yeah, man. It's not wasting any time. Oh, there's Brett. Perfect. Hey, Brett.
What up?
Now we can start the show. Perfect. Let's get into it, man. Mr. One Subset leads us off here. With game budgets reaching $300 million and some companies not getting a decent return on investment or just breaking even, are we looking at another video game industry crash? So yeah, that's actually been like a big point of like big question. People are like, are we going to see another fucking crash? We even kind of talked about this on the Thursday show, you know? Things are obviously different now than they were in like 1983, I believe, when the game crash happened. But at the same time, something has to give with these crazy budgets, you know? Like, we haven't seen devastating losses in like revenue yet, but obviously all the job cuts aren't good. And I think it's just a matter of time until like game sales like drop precipitously, you know? That hasn't happened yet. That was the main difference with the 83 crash. It's like people just stop buying because the games are crap, you know? In this case, that's not really happening. Game sales are still relatively okay for the most part, but we're seeing other things that are going bad, like thousands and thousands and thousands of people getting laid off, you know? So I'm not sure if we are going to see another game crash, but something has to give. Something has to give, you know? So what do you guys think? Wish we had Chris here. He knows more about this financial shit than many of us do. But you know, we could.
Are we heading toward another
game crash?
We heading toward another game crash? To be honest, I don't think so. I think that I feel like it's still quite a bit too early to even sort of say that because a bunch of studios are essentially tightening their belts because of mistakes that they made. You know, every single one of these studios, what did they do? And we established that we said this on, and you know, we said this on the previous show. What did they all do? Because of the pandemic, they all started to push more things down the pipeline, right? And they overestimated because they thought they would see extensive growth after that pandemic, and they literally all of them made a mistake, and they all literally needed to essentially cut everything back. Notice that Nintendo hasn't cut anybody back, have they?
No, they haven't.
You notice they didn't. The only thing that they did, they only did was that they adjusted their projections beforehand. Because they knew it was not sustainable. All of a sudden, when you have a captive audience, yeah, if that's the only way anybody's ever getting entertainment, yeah, of course you're gonna be fucking making money hand over fist. But as soon as that pandemic ended, as soon as the years came on after that, they should have just said, all right, we're starting to pull everything back. In the case of Sony, they wanted to go down the line of essentially doing a bunch of service games. And now what's happened? We don't know how many of those service games have all been canceled. But, you know, that's why they're probably saying shit like, "Oh, hey, yeah, there's not going to be anything this year."
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't think we're going to hit a game crash. I think again, like all of these companies they're all tightening the belt, and we're going to start seeing, you know, we're probably not going to see, you know, like I think it's definitely going to be few and far between when it comes to those big AAAs. That's one thing I know is going to be for sure.
Yeah.
Like the times that we've been waiting between those sort of big titles are going to be even bigger. But maybe these companies will actually start getting smart and doing some middle, some lower budgeted, middle type games to sort of fill in the space. Because I think some stuff that doesn't need to take normal time for a lot of games is 5 years, but stuff that can be done in a shorter time and what has a smaller type of budget. But I don't know. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a crash. I feel like most of the titles, and we have to look at them at a case by case basis, but I feel like most titles that have these exorbitant budgets actually do pretty well. I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 was $100+ million budget, and it's a big success. Destiny and its sequel were huge successes. We know how big those budgets were. We know how much Rockstar puts onto those GTA games and Red Dead Redemption. Those resounded successes, and so I feel like a lot of these games aren't going to learn any lessons just because they're grossly profitable. But there are some other games I feel like let's think about a game like Skull and Bones. I don't know what the budget was for that game, but I'm pretty sure it's way too much.
Yeah.
And games like those are the ones that are probably going to suffer because, there's no reason why a game like Skull and Bones should have a what it seems like a 8+ year development cycle, and probably had a lot of money put into it and just turning out into whatever is going to come out. And I doubt it's going to make up his money. I could be wrong, but it's not tracking well. I know Rich is going to buy it.
No, absolutely not. Let me just say something real quick. Carlos, anytime you say case by case, I'm just going to start calling you Carlos Spencer, because I think of Phil Spencer, since he is the one that started that case by case stuff. So I just was going to say, I also don't think it's going to be a crash. I think some companies are definitely going to restructure their businesses a little bit in their projects to try it. They're going to have a period of time where they'll be able to do this. Of course, we still have a lot of big titles coming out next year, GTA, so on and so forth. And I think, as Manny said, a lot of these independent studios or people who were at these bigger studios are going to start more independent studios. So if anything, I think you're going to see a lot more people taking risks, making their own projects as opposed to getting behind a big publisher like EA, so on and so forth.
Yeah, and to be honest, like a lot of time a lot of that stuff, like every single time that sees it happen, it's like, especially when you're behind, it seems like behind the wall of a lot of these studios that are just like, all right, you can't do this, you got to do that. So it's like, you know what, put together an idea and then see if you can sell it off to somebody else, sell it to a publisher or something like that. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. So again, I don't think we're going to see a crash, but things are going to have to change. They have to.
Yeah. Well, again, we keep going back to our, to the former head of Sony, and on the time when everybody laughed at him and said he was a fucking idiot and all that other stuff. What was he saying? Well, he was saying that this sort of aspect cannot be sustained. We can't have all these, you're having so little titles, being put out, and then they're all costing an insane amount of money to do.
Yeah, Mr.
Obviously, yes, you do. Again, even in the movie industry, you can't. Yeah. Not every film is a fucking blockbuster. Like, you don't always have a blockbuster budget spent on a lot of these films. I would say, to even put out, the film, the Creator, even Godzilla -1. These films didn't take a lot to make. And I think that's what has to happen. We need to be able to start making these smaller experiences, that really sort of take advantage of and try to innovate, as opposed to trying to constantly throw out fucking Marvel, Marvel Cinematic Universe movies where they're spending billions of dollars, or for games and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, the parallel between
Something's gotta give.
Yeah, the parallel between what's going on in Hollywood and gaming is very interesting because like they're both facing kind of
It's very
similar,
it's a similar situation. What are you seeing right now? You're seeing a bunch of companies spending millions of dollars, right, on not taking a chance. The budgets are so damn extensive. So
the budgets are too
what
damn
is
high.
not taking it. The budgets are too damn high, and then you see them not taking any chances on new IP. Same thing that's going on in Hollywood. What are you seeing? A bunch of sequels, a bunch of remakes. This is the same shit.
Yeah, just to illustrate the point. By the way, quick plug here. Go check out the Dune 2 spoiler cast over on the coalition.com, coalition with a K. On that podcast, Manny, you weren't there, but I made this point because we talked about it we talked about it during the trailers, right? Okay, they showed, and I'm actually probably like 12 trailers, right? Out of those, only 3 were for new IPs. Who the fuck asked for Twister? You know, and I love Twister. Don't get me wrong. I love Twister.
Twisters. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm like, but you know why? Because like, oh, it's a property people recognize, right? And obviously, when did we see all these trailers for Dune, a property that's already established, right? So yeah, that's what's going on. That, again, you have all these IPs in gaming, right, that are being remastered, remade, whatever. Same thing in Hollywood, remaster, well, not remastered, but just remakes and shit. It's very interesting how that works, you know, and it's like that's what happens when you're spending that much money on something. You need to play it safer, you know. Go ahead.
There needs to be a guarantee that you're going to make back all the money the money that you spent. You know, for a Spider-Man, you know, officially that would be it's an easier bet than saying, okay, Insomniac, new Insomniac IP, which was listed in that leak that they had a while ago. You know, I'm sure that they're not getting the budget they would get for a Spider-Man for that IP, which is fine. But again, they should be they should really be doing is trying to push a new IP, something that they don't need to pay fucking Marvel for the rights for, and have to flip their money, a portion of their money to them.
Yeah,
you know.
By the way, real quick, Syrian Air Force, as a joke, said we need a sequel like Titanic 2. We had that. There was an actual Titanic 2 straight to DVD, but that existed. Anyway, Rich, go on.
It wasn't based on it wasn't based on the Cameron film though.
No, but it was literally Titanic 2. It's insane. Anyway, go ahead, Rich.
I also make a quick comment. Speaking of remakes, we do not need this new Crow movie. So whoever the hell decided let's do this.
Yep.
Why does the Crow? Okay, he looks like Dante from DMC, the fucking Ninja Theory game. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
To be honest, I just thought he looked like Jared Leto.
He kind of does, yeah.
He looked like Jared Leto Joker.
But yeah, no. When I first saw it, I'm like, oh my god, that's Dante from DMC. Holy shit! He looks like a fuckboy, basically.
Also, I would like to smack Hollywood upside the head because again, what do you have? Those people not having any fucking imagination. Alexander Skarsgård in fucking clown makeup again. Really? Come on.
Oh, which is another remake.
Yeah.
Which is another remake.
Come on.
So
how much imagination do these people? It's like, oh wow, he does really good in clown makeup. All right, let's put him in some more fucking clown makeup. Come on, man.
Brian,
is that actually real? Because I genuinely thought it was AI.
No, it's not AI.
Oh wow, okay.
It was the first. It was the first look at the new Crow.
Are those like those videos you see on YouTube where someone says, "Oh, leaked footage of Avengers 5," and then it's like a fake Tony Stark in a VR thing or something? I thought it was one of those ones where it's like, yeah, this is it's obviously someone's just dashed up with AI. So it's actually a real thing. They're doing the Crow again.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, they're redoing the Crow again.
When's it coming out? So that I can block that date out of like my existence.
You're gonna love this. The movie's coming out in like June, and this is the first time we're even hearing about this.
No, there was it was out there. It was they said that they were making a crow with him. This was just, hey, look, here's the first look of what the crow looks like. Whoa, oh God, what happened?
Brian, I was watching a stream when they were discussing this, and the host was literally like, "I don't believe you," like, and then he had to verify it himself. He's like, "Oh my God, this is actually real."
Yep.
It's fucking insane. All right, moving on here because we do have a lot of questions tonight. But there is a theme about
cool.
return on investments and shit. Jay Shep, what's going on, brother? I see him in the chat right now. What is the optimal but reasonable return of investment for AAA PlayStation exclusives? Maybe Chris would have better insight into this, but I honestly don't know.
What is
man.
the optimal return of investment?
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, like I would say, it was essentially literally pay for their thing, being profitable. That's a return of investment.
Yeah,
like,
no, but he wants
the,
he wants an actual, like, for example, Spider-Man had a 35% return on investment, and that was kind of considered low compared to what they wanted to have. And there was another game, and Jay Shep, maybe you can tell me what the game was. It had 122% return on investment. It may have been Helldivers. So, but I don't know what would be the optimal. And I'm not a business guy. I'm not gonna be one of these fucking YouTubers. I just says something like it's the. I honestly don't fucking know. You know.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like I think in general, I mean, we can't really give a number on it, but I think in general, as one of these people, they want to at least be able to pay the first things off. They want to pay off their, what they spent to create that thing, and then get, and obviously, pay for the next thing. I think that's the general consensus on that sort of stuff. So it's like, but again, like I think that the bigger one is like if you could spend a low investment on something and get more profitability out of it.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that's an ideal situation. I think for them, Helldivers was a again, like because they had very little faith in it, they gave it what it needed to give it, and it did better than they expected. Yeah. And that's a really ideal situation.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I don't have any hard numbers, but obviously the general answer is way more than they invested into it, But if anybody else on the panel has any maybe insight to this, I'm all ears. None of us are business guys.
It's just making a profit, making a substantial profit that leads you into a sequel for whatever game you're making. Like Tony said, you can't really put a number on it. I mean, sure, you can say 100% profit or 200% profit, but that's not realistic on most games. So just make your return on investment and then some, and then everything else after that is gravy, essentially.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rich.
I have a quick question. So do we know if Spider-Man 2 was considered a success? Because, I mean, they've already set it up for another game. So I'm just curious if, unless Marvel, when they did that deal, they said this is for a certain number of games and they just decided to go with it regardless of if it made its money back.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, we could probably check how many copies it sold. But
10 million.
Yeah, that's going to get a sequel. Yeah, there you go. That's a success for sure. But apparently, the return on investment wasn't as high as like it was in the first game. Apparently,
Yeah.
But again, it's still early though, isn't it? Like the first game's been out for years, so. But I
still got to come out on PC.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we'll see, man. But very interesting stuff. Another one from Mr. J. Shep here. Last year, market quote-unquote experts predicted large acquisitions in 2024. With all of these layoffs occurring and shifting gears in the industry, do you guys see any large acquisitions occurring this year? No, not really.
I don't think so.
I doubt it. But again, like you said, there's a lot of layoffs this year. All these companies are tightening their belts. I doubt we're gonna see any major acquisitions that like we saw last year was like the year of the acquisition, really, and the year before that too. But this year,
Yeah.
I really do not see that happening. I'll be extremely surprised if that happens.
Yeah, one of the biggest perpetrators of acquisitions was Embracer Group, and
Yeah.
they've been doing the opposite of embracing these days.
You know, they've been debracing. Not a word, but whatever. I'm making it up. But yeah, that's not going to happen. Another one from Jay Shep. Yeah, I'm allowing 3 tonight. Fight me about it. Why the hypocrisy over exclusives being good 1 minute and bad the next? Okay, this is something I've tweeted about for many years. Exclusives are good or bad depending on your console of choice, right? Because if your console gets the exclusive, it's a good thing. But if your console doesn't get the exclusive, it's a bad thing. So that's pretty much what it comes down to. You know, like fanboys will shift their allegiance to exclusives, you know, depending on what exclusives they get and which ones they don't get. You know, so that's where the hypocrisy goes there. But in general, fanboys are just fucking hypocrites in general. You know, it's like, again, let's just be sticking with exclusives, right? An exclusive that comes to their platform, let's just say, you know, it comes to their platform and they love it, right? But if it was on the other platform, the same game that they would love, they would hate on it just because it's on the other platform, you know?
Case in point, Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah, now they're hating on it. They're hating on it. They're betrayers and all that other stuff. It's like, hey guys, it's great and all that you have the service like that, but did you play that game? How come Microsoft is not touting those numbers? How many players were playing it, or how many people bought it? Because I'm going to be honest, as much as it wasn't a success. It was a darling, as far as reviews go, but I don't think that went anywhere until finally they said, you know what, we want to actually make some money off of this shit. So let's put it on something else. Yeah.
They pretty much, what Microsoft's ploy right now is almost exactly what Sony's ploy is after, when they put stuff on PC like they've been doing. When the fire runs out, when the fire burns down, they're like, all right, we've already paid for this thing. Let's see if we can make some additional money off of this stuff. And I think that's what all that is.
I'm going to see if I can find that old tweet, because I tweeted out years ago, because I noticed, I'm like, you guys seem to shift on exclusives depending on what console it comes on. But again, it all comes down to fanboyism.
It's always the same old adage. Oh, hey, why isn't this on our console? And then when it does get onto
I'm sorry, but I tweeted this shit out August 4th, 2020. It seems exclusives are only bad when they're on the system you don't own. I'm retweeting that shit right now. Again, I've been talking about this forever. That's from 2020. That is 4 years ago, Yo,
man, Tony, you're like some sort of Nostradamus or some shit.
I'm retweeting myself right
now.
The
problems. The funny thing about the problems that we're having is that these are problems that are consistently have happened.
Yeah. And on that, for consistency's sake, and I tweeted this out because sometimes I forget what I tweet sometimes, but I tweeted this out the same year in May and June. Exclusives are a good thing. And I maintain that stance. That's what defines a console, exclusives. I will not back down from that, because I know there's some guys that are saying exclusives are bad. Okay, you're entitled to your opinion. I disagree with that notion,
And then there's also the people that say exclusives are good or bad depending on what the heads of the company say.
Yeah, that's also true. We've seen again, but it goes back to what I said. Exclusives are good or bad depending on what system you own.
I think the one thing is like I always see like the exclusive as the thing that shows you the potential of the thing that you're running, right?
Yeah.
So you have like there is no reason why Halo Infinite should look like shit.
Yeah.
Halo Infinite should show you why the fuck you should own an Xbox.
Yeah.
and that goes the same for any sort of exclusive on the PlayStation or regardless. These things, even with Nintendo, these things are showing you why you should be owning that console. And obviously, you have your third parties and stuff. Those are great and stuff. But again, usually third parties don't usually push the envelope as much as something just made for a specific console.
Yeah.
And obviously PC games. Because the PC games that close the door on anything console related. There you go.
Yeah, Rich, what's your take on this, man? With the whole exclusives are good or bad depending on the system.
I agree with pretty much everything you guys said. And for those that are complaining about Hi-Fi Rush coming to PlayStation, there's a large majority of those people who didn't even play this game on Xbox. So, I mean, why do they care now? I mean, it just doesn't make any kind of sense.
Well, you know why they care. They care because they lost the exclusive. Even if they're not playing the exclusive, they want that exclusive, you know? Again, to them, it's not about the game succeeding. It is about spiting the enemy, you know?
Yes.
That's what it all comes down to in the end.
Yes, the fanboy mentality. Some people need to get out of that mindset. But I agree pretty much with what you guys said.
I'll say this for Hi-Fi Rush. I don't, I played that thing when I still had Game Pass, had the Game Pass. I specifically bought the DLC so that I would I was at least giving them a little bit of money. And then when my subscription was about to run out, and I really wanted to keep that game around for my PC, or if I ever get an Xbox, I bought the game. So, how many of y'all are doing that?
Yeah, that's right. Buy the game, you know?
Yeah.
That was the other thing. I remember that from back in the day, too, with Xbox One. Like, you had the Xbox guys talk about their exclusives. Then you saw the sales. They weren't buying their exclusives. Very interesting, you know? But okay. They don't buy the exclusives, but God damn it, if those games come to other platforms, there's going to be hell to pay, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Very interesting, man. Fanboys are a very interesting group, man. They really are. You know, very fascinating. Like, I think I should like, quit my job and become a fanboy psychologist, man, because I know how these motherfuckers work, man. I've seen their behavior for over 10 years, you know? It's crazy. J Shep, I hope that answered your question. But again, you saw my consistency, bro, you know? And I've been tweeting about this forever since 2020. I put that shit out. And I'm pretty sure I probably tweeted about that even before that, you know? Exclusives are good or bad depending on the system you own. That's just how it comes down to, you know? Fucking fanboys, man. Fucking fanboys. All right, there you go. Yeah, he liked the answer. Good stuff. All right, Tumeke, who's also joining us tonight. Shout out to him. Shout out to New Zealand too. You already know. You guys are awesome. You know. Man, I kind of want to go down. Like after going to Hawaii, I'm like, I need to visit another one of these kind of islands and shit. You know, this is some
island. You want to go to what are they called, the Samoan like island area? I forgot what they called the
Pacific Islands.
I'll go there too. Let's go. You know.
Yeah, man. Man, go there.
Yeah. All right, man.
Time.
To make it. He goes, with gaming going through tough times and market growth stagnating. This is a fun question. I really like this one. Has your gaming time spending changed? Has it changed where you are spending less time, money on games? Are you spending more time, money on games? Or is it about the same? So yeah, let's see how have your gaming habits changed? And to make, I'm guessing during this generation, right? Because that's when things have been kind of turbulent, you know? I'm going to just go straight down the line here. Manny, how has your gaming habits changed in the last 4 years?
To be honest, not really. I mean, you know me these days. To be honest, I haven't really. I play certain games, but I mean, it's very sort of choice cuts, like very little things here and there. So and it hasn't really changed. And I've always been of the same mind. And even this goes back to when I was young. You know, you play that game until you're done. Like, you get your what nowadays you get your platinum trophy, or you get all the secrets in the game, or get all the things in the game. And that's always the way I've been playing. But I've played. I would say the time that really gaming changed for me wasn't had nothing to do with these years. It had to do with the fact that my life got more busy when I started working full time. When in my mid 20s. That's about the time when I started. When I sort of eased away from long RPGs because I just couldn't handle the hours, the investment that those games needed. And I think that's about it.
Yeah. Carlos.
Yeah, it's definitely gone down. I mean, this generation for sure, but even most of last generation, I've spent less money on games. I've put in less time on games. I've been more selective, kind of like Manny has as well. Yeah, so it's more. For example, this year, I plan on playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and then I don't know after that. Whatever, I don't know what else is going to come out. I mean, obviously, because we still haven't seen, a lot of the games that are going to come out this year. But yeah, it's more like I don't put in time like I used to with video games. I don't buy everything. And also, a lot of that is motivation and sort of the anticipation and community aspect of it. Back in the day when we got the slate of games, we were talking about Gameageddon. Talk with your buddies.
We haven't had one of those in years, man. Holy shit. Remember, literally twice a year, this is how long Throwdown's been, for a long time, for almost twice a year, we'd have episodes called Gameageddon when we were just getting bombarded with fuck games. We haven't had an episode this entire generation like that at all,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also going with the community aspect, we haven't played, with Throwdown. We used to play games. I saw it too, Tony. I know what you're laughing at. J-Shep, I'll answer it after this. We used to play games. GTA 5 when that came out, we played it online. Whenever the online came out for that, we played. Monster Hunter World.
Yeah.
We used to play these games, and now it's like we don't really do that anymore. So, even that part of the motivation when it comes to multiplayer and community has dwindled a little bit. We just wait until the Elden Ring DLC comes out and we'll probably get back into it. But yeah, it's definitely gone down. And yes, J-Shep, I will use a chocobo. Now that I've gotten the heads up, I blame Tony because Tony didn't tell me you could use chocobos in the last game, man. He's my source for all information.
Well, you're supposed to know that. It's a Final Fantasy game. You could ride fucking chocobos,
Yo, man, that game is on some BS. You had to talk to a specific person in a specific town in a specific place. It's some bullshit. I blame Square Enix.
Yeah, this is why we don't skip side quests, man. Just saying, So I'm next. Carlos, I'm kind of like you, but I'm going to expand on it. But yeah, it's this downhill trend has been happening since last gen, to be honest. Like the beginning of last gen, I was still there. Carlos, you were the canary in the coal mine, though. Like, yo, bro, what's going on now? You were ahead of the curve, and it wasn't until like 2014, I'm like, yo, what the fuck's going on, man? Then things picked up. We had 2017, 2018. Things were good. And then since 2019 onwards, just like last year was easily my least gaming year. I think I played 5 games. This year, it may be less. I've played and beaten 2. Ironically, literally one of the worst games I ever played, Suicide Squad. One of the best games, Final Fantasy Remake. But it's a couple of factors. It's like the games I want aren't.
You beat Suicide Squad?
Yeah, I did. I beat the game, believe it or not.
I am so sorry.
I know. I subjected myself to that. I wanted to commit suicide after playing that game, But yeah, but it's a couple of factors too. It's not just what's happening in the game industry. It is one. It's like, 'cause I'm not really getting the games I want. It's also just other life stuff. Like I'm kind of more interested in other things. And like Carlos said, having a full-time job kind of eats away at my time. I can't I could only really maximum game time 3 hours a night on the weekdays. On the weekends, I could go a little harder, obviously. So it's like a number of factors. The games aren't really coming, the ones I want to play. I have other interests now, and I don't have as much time to game. So yeah, definitely changed. So I'm obviously not spending as much money. Even I wasn't really spending too much money to begin with not to begin with for a while, just, because I don't pay for games really. Even now, like I still get codes and stuff. But I used to buy more games that weren't for review. I've gotten to a point where I only play games I review because I'm like, I don't really care about what else is going on, So we'll see what happens. And it's funny, literally, when I joined STFU and Play 10 years ago, I was 33 at the time. Torrance was 43. And he's like, yo, Tony, when you get to be my age, you're going to be just like me. I'm like, no way, man. Game me for life, man. It's main hobby. When I turned 43, I'm like, oh, shit, Torrance was right. I'm 44 now, It's like, damn, I turned into Torrance,
So when you started fishing?
Yeah, I guess that's going to happen next. Obviously, the only difference is I don't dabble in games like Torrance. He just takes little bites here and there. When I play a game, I beat that fucking game, Unlike Torrance, he's still like, Torrance, have you even finished Mass Effect 2, bro? So I still finish my games when I play them. But yeah, gaming is not my main hobby anymore at all. And it may not ever be. We'll see. Brett, how has your gaming habits changed in the last 4 years, if they have changed at all?
Oh, Jesus, poor man. They've changed probably more in the last 4 years than they have or just about any time. Like, I've drastically changed. Like, I've joined Brian on the better side. And I feel like that's an objective statement. I think Brian would back me up on that. But, like...
it's okay. You can make objective statements. So
for me, the big thing that changed probably the most was it's kind of started with Game Pass, but it's just kind of a different approach to games. I just kind of abandoned a lot of the giant AAA washed out the Ubisoft fatigue with me was real for a long time, and like I've just kind of slowly started drifting away from a lot of big AAA games. Just haven't felt like playing them because they just don't seem super interesting. I didn't play Final Fantasy. I didn't play Suicide. I didn't play a lot of these games, but I am playing games like Power World and Grounded and Baldur's Gate, like the kind of side projects. It is what's weird is like that sounds kind of odd if you look at it from a strictly console point of view, but if you look at it from a PC point of view, like this has been coming. This has been talked about and displayed, everything like that. Like the landscape on computer is so different because it also includes smaller indie titles, AA titles, early access titles. Like you have not only these big AAA games, but an entire other ecosystem revolving around it that you just don't really get on console. Console, you get your big AAAs, and then you get the proven indie games that get a price tax and then brought over so that you can spend twice as much to play the same games your friends on PC played like 2 years ago. And like on the console side, we have this kind of idea like, oh, they're the ones getting the old games. They're the ones getting taken advantage of because they get a PlayStation game 2 years after release for a full price. Meanwhile, we're over here paying $50 for fucking Hollow Knight in like 2021. Like it's both sides kind of think the other one is a little behind in data. I honestly think kind of fucking hilarious. But for me, the biggest thing that changed, as I said, was kind of Game Pass. It changed my opinion on barrier to entry in video games. And when I started, honestly, investing less upfront, I'm not saddled with this idea that I have to enjoy myself. So I can play around more and find things I enjoy more, and not having to have that. I've done my research, I've watched the videos, I've checked the reviews, I know the history, I've spent my $50, I'm not gonna, pay ahead and things like I'm like, this game looks cool. Like this is an early access game. Maybe I'll pay the $15-20 to play it. And that's where I think the rest of the world has started to recognize that with like the success of like Power World and shit. There's other avenues out here. You can't just look at the Ubisofts of the world to fill your plate more, and you can't. But what really surprised me is when I stopped looking at the Ubisofts of the world to fill my plate, I found I had a lot fuller plate than I thought. And bro, I've been going through a gaming renaissance. We talked about this. I've been playing more video games in the last couple years than I have for a fucking decade. Maybe more. Like, shit, dude, this is like 360, possibly even like PS2 level of game. Like, you fucking playing new games every 2 weeks. It's great. And there's so much stuff I love. Like, I have a backlog that I will now never finish. And most of it is fucking free. It's, I mean, not free because I pay for a service, but like, same thing I pay for Netflix. Like, that's like going from like being a movie aficionado with like 1,000 movies to just a streaming service. It's mind blowing. And when I changed the context of how I gamed, like, man, everything just kind of fucking changed. And now I'm like, yeah, cool. Like, Final Fantasy is out, but have you seen my Power World base? And now I'm playing some Baldur's Gate with my new girlfriend, and I am playing Sea of Thieves and Valheim online with friends. Like, man, I have a rich, full gaming life. I could play a different video game each day of the week and still be stacked back for years. So I understand why everybody's like, it's the gaming apocalypse and the industry's going to crash and there's nothing to play. But like, bro, that's not my experience. And I think it took it getting bad enough for me to look elsewhere. And I think a lot of you that have listened to the podcast for a long time can agree. Like, I don't think anybody ever expected me to be the guy that followed down Brian's path. Like, I was, and Adam's path. Like, I was not expecting me to be that next guy of anybody, but here I fucking am, and I'm telling you, man, the grass actually is greener even when you get over here.
Yeah, hey Brett,
I'm not surprised.
What happened, Carlos?
I'm not surprised. I don't think anybody in the panel is surprised that you.
No, I'm not surprised. You've always kind of done your own thing. But Brett, I got a question for you here from Mr. J. Shep.
Yep.
He goes, have your taste changed with Xbox's changes, i.e., they don't put out AAA games, so you don't play AAA games?
Well, no. Like, I definitely don't follow Xbox. Like, I'm playing on my PlayStation right now, and I've just bought a new laptop to play Baldur's Gate. Like, it's not like I'm just like locked into the Xbox ecosystem, and therefore I just tailor my tastes around what they're offering. If that's what you're insinuating, no. I just, bro. Like, we've played Ubisoft game. Like, you've played Spider-Man. The Spider-Man 2. Like, all right, I'll call it out. Spider-Man 2. You played that game twice already. Fucking twice. There's nothing new. You're doing the same rehash missions with the same stuff with uninnovative writing because Hollywood can't write a decent fucking story to save their life. So you're doing the exact same shit. Not interested. Just not super interested. There's so much fucking padding in games like Final Fantasy. I just get fucking bored. Like, it does, and none of it matters. It's just all inconsequential bullshit. And like, maybe the giant bloated writing of a lot of the stuff is really getting me. And I like more immersive storytelling or more situational storytelling. But like, no, it's not even a love of Xbox because it's on PC side too, man. I love PC. I just these big AAA narrative games that are mostly on Sony's side and are trumpeted by companies like Ubisoft. They're fucking stale, man. They haven't been innovated. And they like, yeah, you could tag in adding a building system or something like that, but like, at the end of the day, you're just then looking into the indie space for good ideas that you can steal. Why would I want to go and play Assassin's Creed with a survival mechanism bolted onto it?
Yeah. Another just side comment here. Jay Sheps goes, playing on PC makes me want to play more indie games. I never played indies before.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, PC, the environment it's a lot of indie titles, it's a lot of AA titles, it's a lot of other things, and then you have these big AAA things like kind of dotting the horizon, but that's not all there is to eat. Like, and that's the feeling that you get when you have on console is like big game drought, big game drought, big game drought. But there's like a whole slew of games that are just a little bit smaller, and a lot of them don't feel as unpolished as you think. Like, indie game, there's a lot of weird middle ground. Like, technically speaking, Baldur's Gate is an indie game. Self-published. So, like, Power World, definitely an indie game. And that game was actually pretty fun. Like, yeah, they have some kinks and they have some flaws, but, like, man, it's getting really tough to see the difference in quality between a big-budget game and a non-big budget game, because the non-big budget games are getting pretty good. And the big budget games constantly need to be out for 4 months before they're functioning. So, I think we're just kind of meeting in the middle here.
Yeah. All right. Brian, I don't think anything's changed for you. You know. So, what's your take on all this?
Exactly. Nothing really changed for me. I've pretty much been playing the same type of way for years on end. And Brett, just a little insight. I reached where you are now, back when Uncharted 2 came out. That's how like long it's been for me, and now you can kind of see why every single time we do like those game trailers or E3 things or whatnot, I've always just been like, was it really that good? You know, because again, to me, it seems like Sony's just been chasing that Uncharted 2 train sequence this whole time, and they just keep trying to get that. Again, that sequence is really good. You can't deny it. But to me, it just feels like they've been trying to chase that, and they've just not been able to actually find something that captures that. And that's where I'm at. It's like, yeah,
No,
it's just the same stuff.
No, just real quick, Brian, I 100% agree with what you just said. Go ahead, Manny.
The funny thing about it is, it's like maybe they think that's what success looks like, you know. But if you look at the environment that Uncharted game was developed under, obviously they had a high budget, but not nearly the crazy amount of budget that they currently have. I also think they probably had a lot more freedom when it came to those titles. I feel like they had to outdo, you know, the original Uncharted game. While it did well, it didn't do nearly as well because of Uncharted 2, because they literally were addressing all the issues that were wrong with the original game. But they at least had that chance to sort of do it. Where in other words, you did again. I don't think they had a massive investment on that first Uncharted game, but it was enough to get the ball rolling. And I think that's what a lot of these things end up starting as. To be honest, though, I do think that for something like a Horizon Zero Dawn, I think that one started out the gate with a lot of money behind it.
Yeah. J Shep goes, Throwdown show. How much does inflation play into today's AAA budgets? I don't know, man. I honestly don't know.
I mean, we don't have it. We don't have those exact numbers. But again, like inflation obviously affects every single thing that is out right now. But also, obviously people expect to get paid, get paid the right amount of money, especially on air when you're hired and that sort of stuff. So yeah, definitely, I think that does factor into a lot of that sort of stuff. But
it just means more money.
It just means more money. But at the same time, I think that these things can be leveraged. If you know that there is some inflation happening, there is steps that you can take to essentially bring down the extravagance of your budget, and that may mean adjusting your scope. In other words, maybe you don't need to have a full-on fucking open world with every single with 1,000 side missions in
Applebee's
it. You know what
gaming,
I mean?
as Chris calls it.
Yeah, or like in other words, it only does everything. Why? Like I go to something like a Baldur's Gate. Like, okay, what is Baldur's Gate at its core? It's an RPG, and it's not trying to do anything but be an RPG. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of every single game has a leveling system. Every single game has a combo system. Every single game, like it's every single thing that you could everything that has ever been in gaming all works their way into a modern game. All in an effort to essentially to extend gameplay time. If Spider-Man why does Spider-Man need to buy all of his moves? He's fucking Spider-Man. He should have all that shit he should have all that shit on him already. Why does he need to level up? That's all rigmarole to get in, to get you to believe that this game is X amount of hours long when it really isn't.
Yeah. All right. Rich, have your gaming habits changed in the last 4 years?
Okay, first and foremost, let me say this is an excellent question. My gaming habits haven't really changed in the last 4 years. I would say it changed effectively as of 2009 when I joined the coalition. Because obviously, growing up as a kid, I always loved video games. The part of the whole play was that if I did good in school, then the reward would be that I would get a new game or a new system, so on and so forth. So I've played on every system. But once I joined the coalition, much like Brett, I was always into the big stuff. But really, once you have the opportunity to go to these various events and you see so many independent games that are just awesome, it really opens up your perspective to know there is stuff out here that is better than just the big titles. So the indie titles scene has been a very interesting journey. And I will say this, in the last couple of years, I actually got a gaming PC. That actually changed my perspective as well, because normally I just play on console. And let me make this clear before somebody asks in the comments. I have every console. So I'm not an Xbox fanboy. I'm not a PlayStation fanboy. I want to make that clear. Although I do not have a Switch, and I have no plans to get a Switch.
Oh, so you're fake neutral.
No. To quote a very good friend of myself and Tony's, I'm only focused on grown man gaming. All right, I'm not convinced. Yes,
man gaming.
yes. I mean, I'm pretty sure there are some Switch games that you can play and have a good time. I can't get out that mindset. I don't know what it is. Maybe I will change again as I get older. But just to answer the question, I've been on a good journey as far as learning about other games, more independent titles. And of course, joining the coalition allowed me to meet all of you guys. We've had all had great times together. So that's why I say, And so my perspective definitely changed, but it had to be when I first joined the website. And it's been fun ever since.
Yeah, for sure. I want to, not to derail the conversation, but I found what you said about the whole indie thing very interesting, because you and I have very different perspectives on that. Like, just like you, obviously, I've been to many, many events featuring indie games. As a matter of fact, most of my career as a gaming journalist, I've reviewed more indie games than AAA studios because they were more abundant, right? And none of those games have ever changed my mind. Like, okay, like I could appreciate, I appreciate what the talent that goes into them. But at the end of the day, it's like none of these match AAAs to me, man. That's why, I'm just keeping it real now that I'm in a position where I don't have to review every game because I'm not a game journalist anymore. I'm selective. I'm like, I'm glad I don't have to review these fucking games anymore. Again, I'm not saying that's a disparaging thing. It's just you can't force a round like peg into a square hole. It's like if you're not into that stuff, you're not into that stuff. Again, I always use the analogy: you could give me the best cooked salmon ever, I still won't like it. I could appreciate it. I can appreciate the work that went into it for sure. Not my thing, So I'm really.
Well, you also like blockbusters.
Yeah, I do.
Like
of course,
that's the thing. It's big budgets.
I like big budgets in my movies and my games. That's something that's been consistent my entire life. So that's why, Brett, I'm on the other side. I'm like. Dude, I'm going to keep it really real with you guys right now. Not to raise any alarms, right? But yesterday was the first time in the 12 years we've been doing Throwdown where I'm like, am I going to eventually leave this podcast willingly? Because gaming, I'm really down on gaming right now, man. Like, there's a couple of like bright spots, Final Fantasy, but that shit is so few and far between now, So I don't know, man. I'll keep this motherfucker going as long as we can, but it's like
time to update my resume.
Yeah, it's shit is bleak right now, man. With gaming for me, and pop culture too, to some extent. But that's a whole other conversation, Go ahead, Rich.
Well, I just say, I fully understand and respect your mindset on this. I think for me with the indie stuff is that it's not just, and you are right, we have two different mindsets, because I also look at a lot of the independent films as also being better than some of the bigger films. I know going in, when I was in college, this one movie I saw, if you've ever heard of it, this movie called City of God, that was a fantastic movie. I consider that to be a classic. So that's why I say it's like some of the independent stuff is really good. You know, some of the AAA stuff is awesome too, but that can also fall short in some areas as well. But I kind of have a lot of respect for some indie stuff. Not every independent game works, but some of the stuff that does work, aka Sifu, I mentioned that before. That game is badass. So stuff like that stuff like that is just as hard to ignore.
Tony, I'm curious. Does that that doesn't align with your musical beliefs, though, right? Like you don't believe that the top 40 are objectively the best.
No, I don't. I hate top 40. I can't stand that shit.
But it's the most expensive and most high budget music. So how can you not?
It's because they're not playing what he wants to hear.
They're not playing what I want. I appreciate the production values, but the music sucks. You know, the talent isn't there. You know,
is that same principle not transient?
No, it's different.
Okay,
you know,
fair.
Yeah, because it's an auditory thing, not a visual thing. You know what I mean? It's a completely different experience for sure. You know.
I also think when it comes to movies for Tony, if the content isn't, you know, even if something is a low budget film, like a lower budget film, if it is still doing something that he enjoys, he'll still watch it.
Yeah, like for example,
Tony still likes it.
Yeah, like for example, let me finish, man. Moon is literally the whole movie's just a guy in a fucking room, basically talking to a robot. Movie's fantastic. That's indie as fuck, right? Obviously, I'm not gonna like it as much as something like Dune, but I could respect it, you know, and I enjoyed it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you like a film like Escape from New York, which was a low-budget film. Yeah. You like a film that was the original Terminator, which was also a low-budget film.
Or so, Godzilla minus Cutter.
Minus Cutter, you know?
I mean, Godzilla minus one is one of your favorite movies. Not exactly an indie movie, but it wasn't literally it cost less than half than what those stupid Godzilla films, the American Godzilla films cost to make.
Yeah, no, I listen. I always respect talent, and because you know everybody simplifies shit. I don't hate all indie games. I like some indie games very much, like like Inside and shit. You know, great Braid and stuff like that, fantastic. But I have certain preferences. By the way, Bliss says that his gaming tastes have changed throughout the years. Mine really haven't. I've been pretty consistent, you know.
No, that's the reason I kind of wanted to bring this up. To not challenging, but I have a question I'm very curious about. Like, okay, so you have consistently liked generally the biggest budget, biggest spectacle, prettiest, most AAA games, right?
Just caveat on that. Just because a game looks really, really nice doesn't mean I'll automatically like it. You know, but
I understand. I'm just saying,
but yes, I prefer high production values. Yeah, exactly. Okay. You look at that. That game costs a lot of money and it sucks. You know.
Yeah, but your tastes have kind of risen with the bar. Like you can't go back to a game that was high budget. You can't go back to GoldenEye and still be impressed by it because your tastes have kind of risen with the bar. Correct?
Yes. It scales. Okay. Yes.
Okay, so in a world where the budgets keep getting bigger, but then become unsustainable, and your expectations keep rising with that unsustainable bar. What is the end game? Are you going to collapse when the budgets collapse?
Oh yeah, no. I've always said that, even back when gaming was still my main hobby, I said there will be a point where I probably won't play video games anymore. You know, I've already been prepared for that inevitability. But remember what I said on the Thursday show. Even me, the big AAA guy, is saying this shit is unsustainable. We need to scale the shit back. Even I'm saying this.
But what happens? And that's what I'm saying. Like, what happens to your taste when they scale it back? Are your tastes going to scale back with the bar when it goes back down?
Probably.
Or are you just going to find yourself wanting? Because they're not making $300 million games.
Manny, hold on. I probably will. Check out, but I'm more thinking about the health of the industry than my own personal tastes, which are insignificant compared to the industry. The thing about it,
I mean, I don't think that the thing about it is I don't think games are just going to all of a sudden turn shitty overnight. Like, you know, I mean, there is like shitty looking. Like, to be honest, like when it comes to scope, you can still say a lot with a smaller scope.
Yeah.
And I think that's where
you could still have a game that looks like Final Fantasy VII Remake, but not have 50,000 hours of fluff, and it'll cost a lot less. So that's what I kind of mean by that, Brett. So in that sense, I probably will still stick around. If you could give me those 10-hour games, but with the graphics we're kind of used to now, which let's just be honest, most games look good now. It's very rare when you go, that game looks like shit.
Yeah, I think that's doable. I think we can.
Yeah.
I think we might be entering an age where you have super high production values, but more focused games like Senua and like that, or like Hellblade, Senua Sacrifice. Like, I think that might actually becken you a little bit more than some of these bloat. Like, there are ways to roll back.
You give me 10. You give me 10 games 12 games like that a year, right? One a month. I'll be fucking happy as fuck. You know,
but Tony, I got
a
weapon. Well, we could sacrifice open world. That's not really needed. You know. Although,
I got an example of a game that looks like shit.
That looks, Black Tiger, obviously.
No.
You mean Final Fantasy Rebirth?
No, a game that looks like shit is exaggeration, but you'll get what I say. A game that doesn't look as good, but you love, like Monster Hunter World. That game does not look up to par even back then when it came out.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like shit though.
Fun as hell.
Yeah, but it looks good. It looks way better than the old Monster Hunters. You know. So that was like already a big draw.
It's a general upgrade from its previous iterations. Like especially the last one being one before that being like a Switch game, right? So,
but it came out the same year as Red Dead 2. And the graphics is like night and day.
Yeah,
it's not.
But the game is still fun.
I also think it's also sort of an aesthetic thing. I don't think, Capcom with the MT framework, which they were using on that one, were looking to make something on the level of a Red Dead, fidelity. You know what I mean? I think they want it to look good enough.
No, I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying like there are examples of games that don't look super polished quality that are still enjoyable, and even someone like Tony really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And I feel
go ahead.
I feel like a lot of, just to go back to the conversation that Brett was having, I feel like one of the biggest reasons why, because I feel more relatable with Tony than with Brett.
Yeah, I feel like you and I, Carlos, are like on the same wavelength. More generally speaking, when it comes to our enthusiasm for gaming going down, I know you don't agree with me with the indie stuff, but I'm talking about with our enthusiasm. You and I are like alike, because we tend to generally like the same kind of games too,
Yeah, and I feel and a lot of it, and Brett, he's asking a lot of questions, and I feel like it's coming from a place where Brett's biggest love is gaming. Yeah. And I feel like for me and probably Tony, gaming isn't
not
at
anymore.
the top priority of
our
hobbies. For me it's like not even top 5. So I feel like that's where we're coming from, and maybe that's why it kind of seems a little bit tone deaf to someone like Brett who's who loves gaming a lot. And it seems like we're just like fine. Well, that's why it might seem like we're fine with it not existing as part of our passions in the future.
Yeah, Brett, what's your take on that? I don't know if he's around. Well, there he is.
I didn't hear. Could you repeat it?
Damn, that was good. What you just said was really good too. I hope you could capture it.
Yeah. Again. Oh, like, no. Let me give it the clip notes.
Too bad we can't run it back.
Yeah.
I kind of caught most, but I didn't catch the empath part though.
Yeah, so just to recap, like a lot of your questions seem to be coming from a place of a perspective from someone that is in love with gaming and might have gaming as a top 3 priority in terms of hobbies for yourself. And I feel like for someone like Tony and myself, gaming isn't at the top priority of hobbies anymore like they used to be, and I feel like that's why we kind of see it in a way that we do. And that's why, we can see from your perspective why you keep asking the questions, because you can't think of a place where gaming isn't one of your biggest loves. And for us, it's like, if gaming ceases to exist, we're going to be fine.
Yeah.
No, I would agree with that.
Yeah. Cool.
I mean, shit. I learned to read on Nintendo, and I have Game Over tattooed on my knuckles. I'm in this shit for life. I'm a second generation gamer, but I don't think it's. I do think it's partially that I've been looking, but there was a time, remember, when I had checked out of gaming.
Yeah, but that was really. Anybody would have. It would have happened to anybody. Honestly,
Yeah,
that
that's fair.
same situation, like,
Yeah,
it's
probably
tough, man.
Yeah. Hold on, because I think I got a comment directed towards me. Jay Shep, he goes, "That's where I disagree. They can make the game shorter, but I doubt they'll want to charge less for it. Can't put that toothpaste back in. Can't put that toothpaste back in the tube."
Oh.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I wasn't talking.
Yeah, I
about,
agree.
Yeah, but I wasn't talking about gaming. When I meant gaming budget, I'm
Prices.
talking about their budget's going down, not what we pay for it. Again, I've said this many times. I don't care how much a game costs. If I'm having fun with it, that's why I will happily pay $70 for a fantastic 6 hours experience. So I wasn't talking about what I'm paying. I'm talking about what they're paying, because if they spend less money, that means they could put out more games. But generally, I don't. With the price of games doesn't really bother me. A good experience is a good experience.
I mean, I think a lot of times what happens with a lot of the bloatedness of games is because they feel like they have to justify their costs.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, if prices go down, it'd be nice, but I don't. That's not gonna.
Well,
happen.
It's precisely why everybody got into that dumb mentality where every single game had to fucking have a multiplayer mode.
Yeah, I remember that
because they somehow needed to justify their existence.
Yeah,
why the game cost the what it cost. Anyway, on this thing, like I would say, like for me, like gaming was similar to Tony and and Carlos. I mean, I always keep on saying I'm the original casual gamer.
Yeah.
Because not the way it currently is, where it's like grandma who doesn't know, who's never played games again, decided to play some games. It's like it's been a hobby, but it was never a defining hobby for me. Obviously have opinions about it, but I'm not going to be. I've never given my life to gaming because I've always had other things going on. It's a nice time waster, but it's never something that I would say that I would ally myself. I never could said to anybody, "Hey, I'm a gamer." I don't see that as a thing. I just go, "Hey, I play games." I go in when a game comes out. I'll complete it, get all the secrets and all that other shit. But I'm not, if it's not there, it's not there. It's part of what gaming used to be when I was young. It was one of the many things that we did when we were young, right? Hey, I go out, you go out to play, you go ride your bike, you do your other things, and then you also have a little game that you can play, whenever you get the chance to, right? That's the way I've always saw it. Like it was never like oh my God, I'm the gamer, man. This is my identity,
Yeah.
I always considered Adam more of a gamer than me.
Oh yeah, he's still.
Well, Adam is going to get buried with a gameplay.
Yeah, he's going to get buried with a Hugo. Good stuff. Let's move on to another question to make it kind of in a similar vein. Have PlayStation and Xbox messed up by focusing too heavily on the hardcore audience, where the return on investment on the games that this audience demands is so low? Would it have been better to spread the focus across a wider range of games like AA and more family-friendly IP to allow the AAA tentpole games to have more time to shine, while also tapping into the younger market who are the future console purchasers and may end up going somewhere else, PC, mobile, Nintendo, etc. Nostalgia is a powerful tool, and if the younger gamers have no nostalgia for your brand, it's easy for them to ignore it. That's a good question. Yeah, because obviously those guys, they focus on like the big titles and stuff, and kind of let the middle stuff fall by the wayside. So, but it's one of those things. It's like hindsight is 2020. Like, yes, they should have probably spread their stuff out, but they did. They did at one point. Sony certainly did. And then Sony decided, fuck it, we're going to get rid of Japan Studio. We're going to get rid of all these other ones that delivered those experiences. So again, like Brian said, they put that Uncharted 2 moment, man.
They put them on stupid gimmick shit like fucking VR.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, but basically, again, hindsight 2020. I think it would have been good to diversify your portfolio, so to speak, in this instance. But, can't put that toothpaste back in there now. Or actually, that toothpaste is fucking obliterated. You're going to have to start over again now, Because, again, this shit is unsustainable.
They have to redefine what it all is.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is like, even like the question is casting your net so wide, especially against something like a Nintendo, which has already established itself as the children and family console. How successful is that going to be? Because all anybody will see is like, hey, look, it's Nintendo too. Look, these guys trying to be Nintendo, doing family games. They've, again, Sony's done this. They've, they had a bunch of they had a whole, in the preview. Remember old E3s back in the day when we would be like, oh man, what's this garbage? Yeah, that was that thing. When they were essentially trying to attempt to attract other audiences besides the sort of hardcore gamer ilk. But I think Sony in general has never, not never, but they've always been a little bit different than the way Xbox is. But then again, there was also a lot of similarities. It's like, hey, this is the adult console. Like Sony was, going down that line during the PlayStation 1 era, right?
Oh yeah.
They're like, this isn't your little baby console. This is the PlayStation. We got Mortal Kombat.
Remember their slogan? Yeah. Play in our world. What is it? Live in your world, play in ours. So it's like, okay, we understand you're an adult. You're not just going to be gaming all the time. So they were already positioning themselves for that. Grown man gaming. Sad thing is now the audience they've been catering to are bitter and twisted. Yeah, look at the Xbox. Look at them, and even ponies too.
I think the problem with Xbox is they don't have an identity yet. Like they don't.
Not anymore. They used to have one.
Yeah,
but identity.
They used to have an identity.
Yeah.
I believe that their former identity is not conducive to modern audiences and modern thought, and I think that's what the growing pains with them is. They didn't have anything that sort of defined them. I feel like obviously with the Game Pass deal, that they're sort of that is what they're essentially aiming for. Not to use the word, but the Netflix of gaming.
Yeah.
Netflix is known for, Netflix is, before, back in the day, Netflix used to be known for, hey, look, they have a bunch of movies that you really like from a bunch of different studios and stuff. Now they're known for their, their content and their, having decent content and putting out all these different sorts of shows. And I think that's what Microsoft is looking for. Looking for like the service is their identity.
Yeah. All right, moving on here. Alpha Chuck. We are at the point of this generation where companies are already looking to the next generation. With the information we currently have, which of the big three is positioned for the most success next gen? Who has the most to lose? Who do you see making the biggest splash and why?
This sounds odd to say, but I feel like just looking at the amount of studios that Microsoft has under their umbrella, they are probably the closest to having something, making a bigger splash as far as the next generation comes, because they have so many outlets, essentially, within their own company that are all developing games, and they all develop games that you've heard of as well as new IP. So I feel like there is definitely a lot of potential. Sony, we just saw them literally cut down a bunch of their workforce. Was it 900 people they decided to do?
Yeah, but
closed down.
Microsoft was 1,900.
Yeah, but like Xbox. They have the Xbox is 1,900, but at the same time, look at how many more people they have in the Xbox division than Sony has within any of their internal studios. A lot of their internal studios are actually a lot smaller, bigger being, Santa Monica Studio and, Guerrilla Games and, possibly Bungie. but I don't think any of their studios were really like, obviously, and it's also Insomniac. Those are the bigger studios, but Microsoft has way more of those bigger studios that have
that's true.
Employees over in the 200s, working on their games. So I feel like them chopping down at that, even though I hate to say that because it's like, the 1,000 and then 1,000, 900 and 1,000. But I think in general, I feel like Microsoft is the one that has the most potential to have a bigger, a greater showing. I think for Sony, they're course correcting, which means they just literally dropped a bunch of games. We don't know how many games they dropped, which would be very interesting to see how many games that they decided to close up shop on that were earlier in development. And then I don't know, because again, we have 5 years. Remember, development time in general is 5 years per game. 5 years from now, what is that?
Yes, 5 years.
Was it 4? Yeah, 5 years. What is that? That was what 2030. What was that? 2029. Yeah, 2029. And that's about the time we're talking about when the new consoles are going to probably come in, right? So
no, earlier than that.
Yeah, probably earlier than that, but they still need to get their shit in order and have some games in development. So, course correct, and try to make sure the next thing. Again, I feel like in general, this generation, the Xbox One / PlayStation 5 generation, they could have pushed it. They didn't need to launch during the pandemic. They could have literally stuck with with Xbox One and PlayStation 4 throughout the pandemic, and then waited to release until around now, 2025.
Yeah, especially
2023.
Yeah, especially 2024. Just because
23, 24.
Yeah, because most of the games we were playing were last gen games, man.
Yeah, did other than getting a hair, getting some additional hair stuff from Miles Morales. How much of a difference was Spider-Man and Miles Morales from each other, other than little tiny details? They could have stuck that one out.
Yeah,
they didn't need to release that on a PlayStation 5. A lot of those games didn't need to come out on 5. They could have held Ratchet and Clank off for a little bit, and then launched the PlayStation 5 generation with Spider-Man PS5.
Yeah, you're right. They could have waited till,
and then they would have had a whole list of games. They would have had Horizon. They could have They could have just left Horizon Forbidden West on the 4.
Yeah, that was
they could have left
game.
all those games, all those 4 games on the 4, and then just 2025 PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X.
For me, I think Nintendo or Xbox have the highest potential.
Yeah.
And Sony has the most to lose. Sony, I don't see what freaking roadmap they have.
Neither do I. More Marvel games. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it's like Insomniac can carry you only as much.
Yeah, Rich, what's up?
I agree that Sony has the most to lose. However, I'm going to say this. As for Xbox, I will believe it when I see it.
Yes.
Because Phil Spencer himself has said, don't listen to anything I say about a game being good. Let the game speak for itself. So until I know what these other studios are actually working on and I see it, I can't think Xbox is going to somehow be better in the next couple of years. I got to see something from them.
It's not really better. It's more they have the most potential with what they have.
They have the most potential. Again, how do you own Activision? How do you own what is it? Bethesda and all the game studios and Ninja Theory and all these other companies, and them not having any sort of showing. They have the. I hate to use you know what? The Spirit of Adam. They got to have something.
1 hour and 28 minutes.
The Spirit of Adam says They got to have something. They can't just like be like, hey, look, we just bought all these companies that aren't working on anything. They obviously know what the hell they're working on. I feel like they definitely will have something to show. But the question is, will that be enough?
Well,
You know, like as enough to sort of take them over the hump, you know?
I mean, the Activision and Bethesda thing is good so that they can release those games on other consoles, because obviously we already know that there's going to be more games coming to other consoles. But I'm more so thinking about their first-party studios that are not these other two that they acquired, because they have a ton of other first-party studios we haven't heard nothing from for quite some time. So that's what I would like to see. I do agree there is potential. We'll have to wait and see, but I'm going to say that Carlos's answer of Nintendo, that seems like that's the safest bet, because Nintendo hasn't missed a beat as far as always having some games to play on Switch. So I kind of think they're still going to be in a good position going into next generation.
Well, I mean,
You know, it's
Nintendo does,
interesting.
but the rest don't.
It's interesting. So, like, if you think about it, like if Sony sort of ran themselves like, let's say, did something similar to what Nintendo did. So what did Nintendo do? They had a bunch of medium titles, right? Like a lot of like first party medium developed titles, like, you know, Toad, and the other thing you have essentially you're bring back an old, like a game that like, you know, Mario Kart, which also and Super Smash Bros, which are sort of like, you know, continuously, you know, updating themselves, right, to sort of fill in the space. And then you have these other smaller Nintendo titles being put in between there, and then you have your big budget title. What's your big budget title? Mario, the Mario game that it launched with, right? What was that game called?
Odyssey.
Hat one. Mario Odyssey. You have Breath of the Wild, which was also one of their big, essentially would be considered the AAA game, and then you have the Forbidden Kingdom now, right? The latest one. So those officially, though they're big AAA games, they're officially big AAA games, are those three. And then they have a lot of things filling in the space, a lot of smaller experiences filling in the space. Which is kind of like the way, like a lot of what older gaming used to be, where you'd have these smaller experiences, and the big you know, like 50,000 hour experiences were the RPG games.
Yeah. All right. Moving on here. This one's kind of related, from our boy Illustrated Dio. Rumors and reports claim next-gen systems might arrive as early as 2025. I highly doubt that.
Rumors, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, which I think is too early given the current state of the industry. If we do get systems next year, well, we'll get you to buy them on day one. And then, you know, Dio always has fun here. It goes, for him, it would be Xenogears Remake Remaster, Darkstalkers versus Guilty Gear, Scalebound, a new Titanfall, an all-new gaming store service related to Steam, relatable to Steam or comparable to Steam, gift, seasonal sales, mod users, forums, communities, refunds, and all that good stuff. You know,
that sounds like you know what that sounds like? PC.
He wants a PC. You want a PC, bro. You want a PC.
That sounds like a PC.
You know, I was thinking about this because we had a similar question last week about, like, would you buy a PS5 Pro? I said I would, but now I'm thinking about it, like, for PS6, because I'm not a game journalist anymore. Technically, I don't need to buy it, man. I think I'm next generation. I may just tap out and just be a PC gamer and maybe get a next gen console if the exclusives are worth it. So I'm like, oh yeah, wait, I'm not under any obligation anymore.
Yeah.
So you know what? I'll wait.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll see what happens.
We'll see if you could resist the FOMO, but I feel like more now you can resist the FOMO than I would.
It's easier, and then I just thought about it even now. It's like with PS5 Pro, Sony's probably going to send us to review it, man. Like, they're probably going to send us a review unit. If it's good, I'll buy it for myself, obviously. But if not, I'm okay. Wow, I just had this revelation live on air. I'm free. I don't have to be locked into this.
Revelation this one.
I don't have to be locked into this shit, you know? Go ahead, Rich.
Well, actually, I have a question for you, good sir. So, what is the game? Let's say we're talking about PS6. What is a game that you would buy the console for?
That I would buy the console for. A game I suspect will be on the console because it ain't coming this day. Final Fantasy Remake 3.
There you go.
Know?
Yes.
Yeah, because let's just be real. That third game ain't coming on no PS5, you know? And you know that's going to be exclusive. So, yeah, there you go. I'll buy a PS6 for the whatever the next Final Fantasy game is going to be called. Redone or whatever. Who knows what it's going to be called? You know.
I think they what did they say? They say it's like reunion. I think the last one is called.
Reunion would actually make sense because that's a theme of this game. It's like the reunion is happening. You know. So yeah, Final Fantasy Reunion. I will buy a PS6 for it. But yeah. Man, I feel good right now. I don't have to buy his fucking console because I'm telling you, man, I bought that PS5 on day one, man, and obviously I needed it for work at the time. But I was playing PS4 games on it. What a waste, you know. I feel liberated now, man. I feel good, you know.
I mean, again, like I don't. I'm gonna say this, like, why? I mean, like in general, like. If there isn't enough for you to play a console, then why do you need to buy? Yeah. Why do you need to buy it day one?
I'm going to go back to the way I used to do it before I became a game journalist. I didn't buy consoles on day one. I wait.
We never bought. And classically, when it came to those things, we never bought any of those consoles day and date.
I
never bought the I never bought the PlayStation on day and date. I never bought even the original Nintendo consoles and all the other ones. I never bought those things day and date.
Yeah, same here.
Came later when there was other stuff that I wanted to play. Right? Yeah. Go ahead.
And let me just.
I was going to do breaking news real quick, Rich.
Okay,
I got breaking news. As a farewell tour gift for Mr. Jimbo Baggins Ryan, I'm not gonna get a PS5 Pro.
Excuse me?
Oh,
you fired.
Also, make sure you don't take any pictures with Jim Ryan because you might be fired later.
You know what? I think You know what? Let's not buy a PS5 Pro. How about that?
We're making a pact.
Because let's think about it. What's coming out on PS5? Wolverine, okay, you know,
Wolverine's gonna be fine, and fine the way it is. It's gonna run fine on the previous one, isn't it? And as far as fidelity, what are you're paying the additional money for a pro version of the console to do the fucking thing that the thing was supposed to do?
Yeah, right. Well, then again, you can't, but then again, it's a console, so I wasn't going to expect it to have PC performance. Back in 2020.
Not going to have PC performance, but at least be able to run the fucking game in 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
At 4K.
It's not
Come on,
do that.
man.
That's too much.
I know.
Ask.
I mean,
that's
too much. It's too high of an ask. But at the same time, that it's always chasing that. It always takes 2 generations for these fucking things to actually do the thing that they said that it was able to fucking do. PlayStation 3 couldn't do 1080 60, even though they said it should.
Yeah.
They said the same thing for the PlayStation 4. Couldn't do that fucking shit either.
Yeah. PS5 can. It can do 1080p 60.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it could do 1080p 60. So that I'm like, hey, look at me. I'm the perfect realm. I got a 1080p television. These games are 1080p 60. Look at that. Amazing.
Yeah.
To be honest, I play him in 30. I play him in fidelity mode.
Yeah. So I guess I'll just ask this question: who will get a new next gen console on day one?
No,
me either.
Brett, are you gonna next gen console it?
No.
Nope. Yeah. Nah. No.
So
PC,
Richard Bailey's
baby.
the only one.
I just no. I just want to make a comment. Yeah, I agree with a lot of what was said, but just so I can give people some inside information, since they like to hear some of this industry stuff. Even when I got my PS5, surprisingly, when I got review codes and stuff for games, a lot of the PR people I was talking to, they didn't even have a PS5 because they couldn't find one. They couldn't get one because of stock. It's same for Xbox Series X. So just to let y'all know, so a lot of people, even people who work in the industry, didn't have access to these consoles in 2020 either. So,
all right, but Rich, should I buy it?
There you go.
No. And my answer is no, because you need to see what games are coming out. Well, as far as Xbox is concerned, it's definitely a no, because we have to see something. No, it's really about the lineup. If there's no lineup there at launch, there's no rush to buy the system whatsoever. That's for all consoles. You know.
Yep. That's always it. If they have that launch lineup and that launch window lineup, that's looking pretty good, and you know it. That's obviously yes. If it's an obvious yes, if they have a really good launch lineup. But other than that, if it's just getting a bunch of, you got to wait like a bunch of time for stuff to come out, and you don't know when anything's happening. I know.
Yes, I agree. And as for Carlos saying he won't buy that system at launch, we will revisit this question when they announce that The Last of Us Part 3 is a launch title for PS6.
Oh no, I was talking about the PS5 Pro.
Oh, PS5 Pro. Oh, okay,
PS5
I got you.
Pro,
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, it'll be The Last of Us 2 remake.
I would.
Yeah,
I would have bought the PS5 Pro if it came out at the same time as this current the time that I was going to pick up a PlayStation 5. But I've never invested in a Pro version of any console.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Switch 2 Bliss says Switch 2 day one. PS6 only if it launches with at least 2 or 3 must play games. Otherwise, I'll wait. And we talked about last week about the Switch. I will absolutely not get the Nintendo console ever. We're done with that. I tried. I gave him a shot. You gotta give me credit. All right, man. Let's move on here. Cuban Boss. If companies decided to focus a bit more on AA games to get a better return on investment and cut down on costs, which game franchise do you want to see return? One of my favorite franchises of all time was Mercenaries. I know the studio shut down, but to this day, it's the most awe-inspiring moment in games thanks to its destructible environments. But it seems the industry has moved away from that feature. I think we answered this before, like what AA games do you want back? I don't think I had an answer for that one.
To be honest, I'm tired of hearing the same old names over again.
Yeah, you want some new.
I want to hear some new names. I don't want it. It's nice to have all those familiar names, but it's like we're always getting rehashed the same shit over and over and over again. I'm getting a little bit tired of it. I want to see some new shit.
Yeah, like with respect to Dio's answer, it's like he wants a bunch of older stuff. I'm like, no, you got to give me a little more than that. I'm getting sick of that in general now. I'm talking about with every medium. I'm like, this is why, like, for example, among other reasons why I'm like, I'm not fucking with that X-Men 97 nonsense. I'm like, no, you need to do better than that, So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I think we answered this question before, but I wanted to bring it up because Mercenaries was a good game. All right, another one from Cuban Boss. With Google, now we're kind of going to different types of questions. With Google Gemini, that's their AI thing that doesn't recognize white people, now able to create 2D platforming games, are we going to get flooded with indies even more than ever? How much will this affect jobs? Am I the only one who thinks this AI movement is moving quicker than anyone else in tech expected? I didn't know it did 2D platforming games, but get ready for that. A flood of those. Well, remember that time where it's like
Well,
every indie game was a Metroidvania game, So we'll see.
Well, the thing about it is that just because you're using an AI to develop to make these games, doesn't mean you actually own that code. So people who do this sort of stuff shouldn't be able to make any sort of money off of it because it's using derivative information.
Oh yeah, I gotta be careful with that.
Yeah, and a lot of these companies saying they have like what do they call it? Ethically sourced AI models. Bunch of fucking bullshit. That's what that is.
My ass.
Bunch of fucking bullshit. Sourced. My ass. Ethically sourced. All of that shit is all based off of shit that people put online and put artwork or code or all that shit that's been put online. So it's derivative information, and you shouldn't be able to own it, especially if you're like generating graphics and things off of it. No.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna. I don't think we're gonna. But then some studios it's gonna be interesting. Some studios decided to use this shit, and then it turns out they're like the assets were ripped off of some other game.
Yeah, well, that's what's happening in China.
Yeah,
like where a lot of those sort of phone card games and stuff like that are all big, and those little PC card games. A lot of those games are using AI, and over there they don't have any sort of rhetoric that says they can't do shit like that.
Yeah. So we'll see. But
I don't know. As far as flooding the market with platformers, the market, the indie market is already flooded with a bunch of platformers. To be honest, all that shit, it'll just be like those lousy AI generated videos on YouTube that just essentially scrapes Wikipedia, and it puts a voice over it, and then shows a couple of pictures which actually take no absolute effort. I think nobody ever looks at those channels. They just fill up space because they're trying to catch those waves of those waves of interest. I think in general, those games will probably fall to the wayside. It'll just be filling a bunch of fucking space, and probably, if anything, not like make the space like harder for indie people. I would say it would make things more difficult to find the things that you actually want to find.
Yeah, because you're gonna just a flood of AI nonsense.
It's just going to be a bunch of a flood of AI nonsense. In other words, like how if you do like a search for Deadpool, then you find those videos where you have an AI. We talked about this before the show. We have those AI like fake trailers that are happening now for things.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Trying to take advantage of the interest. So I think that might be a problem. But I think if any of those platforms, well, especially when it comes to like something like a PlayStation and Xbox, you still need to go through them in order to launch a game. I don't exactly know how the Steam stuff works, And if you if somebody ends up submitting something, there's how their approval process is, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think things are going to change that much, even if there's going to be a flood of AI games, because even on Steam, it's a massive wasteland of asset flip games. It's been so many. I mean, to show you just how much there is, Jim Sterling, back when he was called Jim Sterling, I guess, or they were called Jim Sterling, or however, I don't know, I don't follow the person. There used to be a thing where he would just go through and just check a bunch of Steam games that were pure asset flips, and then they were just awful games. So Steam's already like a massive wasteland of just weird asset flip games. So adding AI to the mix, you could even say potentially they might even get better games in that aspect. No, I mean, like, some of the games that were being played on that channel was they were just really bad. There were games where it looks like someone just threw the stuff together in like a weekend, but in a bad weekend. It just looked, like when you go and watch those like those dev diaries, and then they show like very early game concept footage of like levels are not textured. It's just weird, and it was like that level of quality was just like, this is just stuff put together, and it just quote unquote works. So I honestly don't think things will change, and the Steam submission process it's broken beyond measure because of it. I think Steam Greenlight was one of the worst things that Steam done, and it definitely did ruin them. I don't know how much better it is now, but back when Steam Greenlight was a thing, it's just it was awful.
Yeah. And if these things are like of the quality of like AI generated books, we're gonna be okay. You know, like whew, some bullshit. All right, man. Moving on here. Who is this guy? Death? I don't know who this guy is, man. Never heard of him. But he has one question of his own and another sponsored question. And yes, I am assuming it's a he. You know, sue me. All right. Was Geoff Keighly tone deaf for posting about GameSense Smell-O-Vision for gaming on the same day Sony announced it was laying off 900 PlayStation employees? Why doesn't he ever discuss layoffs in gaming? It's a very good question, Mr. Ramudeth. Yeah. Manny, I think you may want to answer this first, even though you have no affiliation with Ramudeth.
I have no idea. Ramudeth, I hear he's a really great guy.
Yeah.
He's a really big fan of Dune. So yeah, the thing about it, it's like I know, the consensus of people seem to think that Geoff Keighly is the spokesman for gaming, but he's not at all. He's never has been. Like, a lot of people like to see him that way, but what is he? He's a host, he's a presenter, but he's never been about, the whole other part of gaming. The only reason why he even mentions any sort of layoffs is only if it affects his vision, or if it, or anything like that. It affects his vision, or when it affects people that he has a relations to, like, Hideo Kojima. And the reason why he went hard on somebody like a Konami is because him going hard on Konami, he's not dependent on a Konami when it comes to, funding his projects, right? But every single company that has had layoffs has had some sort of sponsorship deal with Geoff Keighly for the Game Awards. And what does that mean? That means you don't shit where you eat, and you don't say shit against certain companies when you're dependent on them for fucking money. And that is precisely why Geoff Keighly will never say anything about this. And the only time he will say anything about this is when things are down the line. You'll hear about it later, but never at the time of.
Yeah. The thing with Geoff Keighly that people need to understand, he's basically the Ryan Seacrest of gaming, right? He is just a host, very safe, milquetoast type of guy that is inoffensive. He is not there to give opinions on things. He is just there to present stuff, to be a face, if you will, an unassuming face. You know what I'm saying? That's why those type of guys, that's why Ryan Seacrest, Carson Daly are interchangeable. They're the same guy. And that's why they're so successful because they're inoffensive.
They're inoffensive in the factor that they will not say anything against these sorts of companies. They're going to play the game. They're going to be just continue to show these things. So this is precisely why he will never say anything about the layoffs. He won't say, what is it, these, all of that stuff. And the one thing he did allow, and again, it's something that doesn't affect his bottom line. You remember during the Game Awards, some of the people did mention the actor strike, the voice actor strike that was happening at the time, right?
Yeah.
That got mentioned on the Game Awards. That's because that thing is unassuming. None of that's just just their part of the thing. It's not directly going after specific companies. These layoffs affect every single game studio on, pretty much, again, all of his bread and butter companies. So, yeah, he's not going to say it.
Yeah. And then as far as the first part of the question, yes, I here's the thing. I'll give Geoff Keighly the benefit of the doubt here because people are like, "Yo, that's kind of like," because people are adding him. It's like, why the fuck are you talking about this game sense shit while this is happening? I think that was probably a scheduled tweak because remember the embargo lifted for that game sense thing that time, and I'm pretty sure he had his tweet all prepared. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But it obviously looked pretty fucking bad that you're talking about this crazy game sense thing, which I by the way, which I may or may not talk about later this week. So stay tuned. Go ahead, Manny.
Here's the thing, though. Like he can jump right on when E3 says some shit, right?
Because
he's obviously capable. He when E3 was saying stuff, he can seriously jump right on top of that stuff because again, it affects his vision. It affects his thing. Something E3 did to him pissed him off enough to want to fucking crush them. And any single time they tried to get ahead, he essentially kicked them down.
Yep.
So
they kicked him while he was down.
Yeah, he talks about that every time, but never about the layoffs.
He never talks about the layoffs.
Very interesting.
Because again, it affects his vision.
Yep.
So he's involved. Now let's say for the sake of conversation, one of those big old companies decide to fuck him over.
Oh, that's
don't you know this motherfucker will come out there swinging and say how much of a bad company they are, just like how he did with Konami.
Yep.
Well, yeah, because Konami had they have no influence in the gaming sphere after Kojima.
Exactly.
Left.
That's why he could talk smack and say that it's unbelievable that he would do this to him and all this other bullshit because they don't have any factor. If them not sponsoring his show doesn't mean a damn thing if he has Activision and Microsoft and PlayStation already doing it.
There was, I don't know if it was a Summer Games Fest or a Game Awards show where Geoff Keighley got an exclusive from Nintendo, and the exclusive that he presented was like a space colored skin for a 3DS or something like that, and he was pissed.
Yep,
and you could see it during the presentation that he was pissed, but he couldn't say shit because it's Nintendo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Nintendo.
Like, we got something for you, Jeff.
So yeah,
that was them having the last laugh.
Jeff, I'll give him this. Jeff is an ambitious person, and a lot of the things that he's doing is to the benefit of his brand and his vision, and then all the things that he's doing, trying to the people who out there online on Twitter, Reddit, wherever, trying to make Jeff as something other than a person that's just trying to make his own brand should really think clearly about that, because he's not just like us over here in the show. We're just giving our own opinions and stuff. We're not martyrs or anything for the gaming this year or spokespeople. Like, neither is Jeff. Jeff is just he's just trying to make as much money as he can.
Yeah. All right. Moving on here. Here's a sponsor question. One subset question. Is it just me, or is anybody else wondering what Naughty Dog is working on other than a remaster of the remake of Remaster of The Last of Us Part 2 for PlayStation 6? Oh man. I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
I have an answer for this question. This is an exclusive you can only hear on Throwdown.
Yeah.
Oh.
Naughty Dog is working on Neil Druckmann's retirement, since he's the one that said he doesn't know how many more games he has left in him.
Yeah.
So that's the answer.
So I think that they accidentally hired some people from Valve and contracted whatever virus they had that makes it so they can't remember how to count to 3.
Yeah.
I mean, back when Amy Hennig was at Naughty Dog, they could count to 3. What happened to that?
3 and 4.
Yeah, no, and you're right. For people who may not know, Neil Druckmann said, he doesn't know how many more games he has. He feels like things are about to wind down for him. So, yeah, Rich, they might be playing for his retirement.
Yeah, you know what? You know why he's saying that. You know why he's saying that?
Because he's ready. He's getting ready to do the show full time. That's why.
Yes, he's getting ready to do the show full time, and I bet you he's going to do another thing, another IP that's going to be like a TV show or a movie or something
that's specifically made to be a TV show. You know?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I can see that. I agree.
Well, actually, I think you hit it right on the head, Carlos, because I know they are working on a new IP. It's supposedly supposed to get revealed this year. So yeah, it very well could be an IP that becomes a TV show.
Yeah, that is expressly made to be a TV show, you know?
Kojima's like, man, I've been waiting 40 years for this bullshit, and you got it right. You got it after was making The Last of Us.
Neil, it's like Neil's like, man, I don't know how many I could do. But then Kojima's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm working on 3 different games currently.
Oh man. All right.
It's kind of funny that Neil's going to do all that hard work just so that he can stand at the Oscars and have no one take photos of him.
Oh shit.
We all seen that.
Yeah, it's true. Oh man. Like, who's this guy? You know? All right. Ace Ali, thank you, man. He sponsored a couple of questions here. So this is another one from one subset. Not that I want this to happen, but if the next Dragon Age and Mass Effect tank, will EA shut down Bioware? Absolutely. We have been saying this for years, that our biggest fear, because you know how cutthroat EA is now. Like, yes, if even Bioware, if they don't perform, they're gone. EA has got rid of so many studios. We've been talking about this exact subject ever since Mass Effect Andromeda came out. You know, we're like, oh shit, you guys better get your act together. You know, so I think it'll happen. Just look at EA's track record; they don't give a fuck. You know, they will cut you. You know, I cut you. You know, real quiet, real quick, make you bleed. You know.
And honestly, if they fail, let's just be real. I mean, we're layoffs and all that, people losing jobs, that sucks. But if Bioware cannot make a Dragon's Age game, a competent Dragon's Age game, or a competent Mass Effect game, then what the hell are they even exist?
You're right. We don't need them. We don't need them. You know,
because they showed that they can't do a new IP anymore. Because Anthem, but it sucks because Bioware is one of those OG companies that's made a ton of classics, So but sometimes you lose people. Like I've always preached this when sometimes we have discussions with it's like is GTA 6 gonna be as good as the other GTAs? I'm like, well, you shouldn't expect it to be as good because there's people that are working on this game. I bet the turnaround between that game and the last game is really significant. And the turnaround between that and the previous one was significant as well. And when you get to a team like BioWare, it's like, this isn't the same team that made KOTOR. I'm pretty sure most of the people that made KOTOR aren't working at BioWare anymore.
Yeah, that's what J-Shep said. Didn't the talent at BioWare leave? Yeah, I mean, all the original guys, they're all gone. It's just like a shell of what it used to be. So that's another reason not to have a lot of hope. It's not that it's BioWare in name only. All the people that you remember, all of them are gone.
Right? They just happen to own IPs that people care about, and that's what the people making Halo. Yeah. A lot of them aren't the same people.
They're not.
They got a couple of them that that were part of the Bungie team, but most of them made Destiny.
Does this mean that we can start calling BioWare Bino?
Oh shit!
Oh, I mean, I honestly, it's not looking good for them. I'm even surprised EA's had this long of a leash for them, considering that they've axed companies on lesser crimes.
All right, man. By the way, Carlos, check out what I just retweeted. Related to Dune.
Dude.
All right, another one from Mr. Ace Ali, who is sponsoring a J-Shep question. Will Final Fantasy VII Rebirth sell more copies than Final Fantasy 16? Probably. The nostalgia factor is real, man. You know, and 16, from what I heard, but again, this is Square Enix. You know, nothing is ever good enough for them when it comes to sales. But they said it. You know, 16 didn't perform as well as they wanted. I actually don't know how many copies it's sold, but I'm pretty sure Rebirth will sell more just because the 7 factor. You know, that's easy enough. And then the last question of the night here from one subset. Since Baldur's Gate 3 has sold 10 million copies, will Larian Studios' next project be held to a higher standard? Good question. Brett, if you're around, I would love for you to answer this one. Waiting for him to unmute himself.
I am. I'm just on mute.
Yeah.
I think that, yeah, why wouldn't it be? I think that they've proved themselves in the wider market to be talented, capable individuals that, you know, should be a team that people are watching. I feel like I feel like people who have been familiar with their previous games, like me and Brian, were already excited because of the reputation they've garnered. So I think just kind of being exposed to a wider audience who feels the same way is going to, you know, in general, kind of increase people's excitement level.
Yeah, for sure. And then what do you think about in the context of how Baldur's Gate 3 set a new standard for games? You know, will Baldur's Gate 4 set a new standard for like the genre as well, or be expected to set a new standard?
You know, the only standard that it really set was a return to actually listening to your customers. And the fact that that was an outmoded concept is a problem of the gaming industry itself, but not necessarily of the innovation of, I don't know, sticking true and putting your customers first. It's a weird statement that is the kind of like, oh, that's the big thing, is listening to your customers. What an innovative concept, but it really is, man. They're not controlled by shareholders, and I think we're going to start finding out, and at least maybe at one point, like, shareholders aren't really great for video games. They're not really great for creative projects, and hopefully we see more successes that are not controlled by that kind of thing.
Hopefully they don't go public. You know.
Oh, there we go.
If they go public,
but I do have
yeah. Go ahead.
I do have a question related to that, specifically for Brett. Let's say Larian Studios announces the new game following Baldur's Gate 3, their next big game, and let's say it's a live service game. Should they, in your opinion, should they get the benefit of the doubt, or should we be skeptical about these types of things? Because it's a pretty tricky situation, because Larian Studios is a quality studio, but we know where their bread and butter is.
Brett.
That is a resounding no.
Yeah, maybe he went away.
I think.
Yeah.
I think that's a very dangerous word you said, Carlos. Live service.
Yeah,
that's,
I think
a very scary word.
It Brett heard Larian live service game and he fainted.
I'm sorry. I figured this. I just decided that I only had so much bandwidth, and this French toast was more deserving of my attention than the live service.
Oh man, sounds good though. Anyway, what do you?
I'm hungry.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian. You can answer the question. You like Larian?
I agree with Brett.
Okay,
that's it. If it's live service, then yeah, there's. It's very difficult to get a good live service game right, and that's kind of the problem. Even if it is Larian. I'm not saying that they can't make one. I'm saying that it is possible for them to make one. I'm not confident that they would be able to make one good enough for their namesake. So hence I'm with the idea that I would rather just not bother with it. But if they do, I'm willing to wait and see, but I am kind of on the fence of I don't have faith that it's going to be good, so I would just avoid it.
Yeah. I mean, you guys know my answer. Live service, no go. All right, man, that's going to do it for us. Another good show. Good stuff, good stuff, good stuff. Some things to plug here. Like I said, at the top of the show, over on the coalition.com and the coalition's YouTube channel, there is our spoiler-filled Dune 2 spoiler cast. Obviously, it's in the title, spoiler cast. So that was me, Dana, Carlos, and my illegitimate son, Joey Polanco. Had a good time talking about Dune. Our podcast was not as long as the movie, just a third of the length, but it was a good discussion there. So go check that out over on the Coalition. And since I'm still talking, I will probably have something about Game Sent this week. So stay tuned for that on Tom's Guide. Should be interesting, Rich, what else is going on at the Coalition?
Yeah, so we recorded the latest episode of The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, featuring Michonne, titled Gone. That is currently on the Coalition website as well as the YouTube. So if you are a Walking Dead fan, you want to hear more about what's going on with Rick Grimes, definitely check that out. We're actually working on a couple of different reviews. Don't really know if I can really talk about what those reviews are, but I'll just say there are some games coming out this week, so you might want to check out the website because we're going to have some things to say. So stay tuned for that.
You already know. All right.
And I am Negan.
Yeah. I'm Negan's back? Or
I am Negan's back?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
I am Negan.
Good stuff. All right, man, we're done here, so make sure you follow Throwdown on Twitch and Twitter. Join the Discord where the conversations and the rumors are always popping. You can also find us on any podcast app on the planet. Throwdown Show, 2 words, Throwdown Show. Throwdownshow.com to listen to past episodes. And obviously, again, we are back on the YouTubes. So make sure you hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Be notified of when we go live, both on Twitch and YouTube, every Thursday and Sunday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Links to everything down below. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco. And tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez. You're muted, sir.
I said, see you next time. Shahalut!
Yeah, go see Dune, man. Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
Brett Murdoch.
Wow. Next time you make French toast, use the cinnamon swirl bread. This shit is delicious.
Oh, shit. Richard,
Oh.
yeah. Richard Bailey Jr.
Have a good week, everybody.
And, of course, Brian Majoma.
I love how Dune 2 has already made more money than Madam Web.
Did you see that clip of Sydney Sweeney? She's like, you didn't
seen all
see
those
me.
clips.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yo, she is literally like, Scarlett Johansson and like Jennifer Lawrence in their prime. Like, damn. But she was like, on that side, I was like, you may have seen me in this movie. You may have seen me in that movie, but you probably didn't see me in Madam Web. I'm like, oh, shit.
Whoa, slap in the face.
She knows somebody saw
Take
that
that,
trash.
Tony.
You know?
Yep.
Anyway, people, we'll be back on Thursday, man. Later.